The average Australian carries $313,000 in debt and has $42,000 in savings. Do that maths. That is not a safety net. That is a financial cliff, and most people are standing right on the edge without knowing it. What's wild is that the numbers people quote, the ones you see in headlines, they are not the real story. The real story is buried in the gap between what Australians own, what they owe, and what they actually have left. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly where you sit in that gap and what to do about it. Let me show you what the data actually says. Here's the number that should be on the front page of every newspaper in the country. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, Australian household debt hit a record $3.33 trillion in June 2025. That's not a typo. Trillion. And it grew 6% in a single year. When you break that down to individual households, the average Australian family is carrying $313,633 in total debt right now. The majority of that is home loans. The average outstanding mortgage sits at $349,410. But it doesn't stop there. Add car loans, personal loans, credit cards, buy now, pay later, and you start to understand why more than a third of Australians told NAB's Wellbeing Survey that they are actively drawing down their savings just to cover everyday costs. 36%. More than 1 in 3 Australians. Not going backwards because of a disaster, not because of a job loss, just to pay for groceries and bills. And yet, when most people think about the average Australian, they picture someone doing okay. Maybe a bit stretched, but basically fine. That picture, it's wrong. It's dangerously wrong. Here is what makes this worse. The median Australian's liquid savings, that's the money you can actually get to, not super, not property equity, sits somewhere between $25,000 and $35,000 for people in their 30s. For people in their 20s, that median is closer to $8,000 to $12,000. That's it. One medical emergency, one car engine, one redundancy, and it's gone. I'll come back to what that actually costs you in a moment. Most people assume that the income numbers tell a reassuring story. The average full-time salary in Australia is $99,100, according to the ABS. People hear that and they think, okay, we are doing all right. Nearly 6 figures. Not bad. Here's what nobody tells you. That number is almost meaningless for understanding how most Australians actually live. Because the median, the income right in the middle where half of people earn more and half earn less, is $62,041. That's a gap of nearly $37,000 between the average and the median. And that gap exists because a small group of very high earners in mining, finance, and surgery pulls the mean up so hard that it stops representing reality for the majority of working Australians. So when you hear someone say the average salary is nearly 6 figures, just know that's not your neighbor, it's not most of your colleagues, and statistically, it's probably not you either. Most people also assume they are saving a reasonable chunk of their income each month, that they are probably a bit behind, but not alarmingly so. The data says otherwise. In June 2025, Australia's household saving ratio was 4.2%. That means for every dollar of disposable income, the average Australian household saved 4 cents and spent the rest. Just a few years earlier, in the peak of COVID in 2020, that number was 23.8%. People weren't spending. Now, we are spending almost everything. And here's a pattern break that really puts it in perspective. A household earning $12,000 a month right now is saving roughly $504. That same household in June 2020 would have saved $2,856 in the same month. Same income. More than 5 times the savings rate. The money didn't disappear. The behavior changed. And the cost of living made sure it stayed changed. So let's go deeper. Let's talk about superannuation, because this is where the story gets most confronting. The ATO publishes superannuation statistics every year, and the 2023 to 24 data shows us something that should worry every Australian under 50. The median super balance for Australians aged 30 to 34 is $40,100. The average for that same age group is $63,800. For 40 to 44-year-olds, the median is $82,500 and the average is $143,000. Now, to retire comfortably as a single person in Australia, ASFA says you need $595,000 at age 67. For couples, $690,000. Let's run the numbers. A 35-year-old with a median super balance of around $60,000 on a median income, contributing 12% through the super guarantee by 67, with 7% average annual returns, they are on track to fall short of a comfortable retirement. Not dramatically, but short. And that's if they never take a career break, never work part-time, never have a period of unemployment. For women, the gap is even wider. The gender super gap is approximately 25%. Women retire with, on average, a quarter less than men. That's a structural issue, driven by the gender pay gap, career breaks or caregiving, and decades of lower super guarantee rates in earlier years. The SG rate was just 9% from 2002 until it started climbing in 2013. Workers who started their careers before then contributed at a lower rate for over a decade. That gap compounds for 30 years. And this is where it gets interesting. There's money leaking out of your super that you probably don't know about. Most funds automatically deduct premiums for life insurance, total and permanent disability cover, and income protection. That insurance can be valuable. But if you have coverage through your employer or a separate policy, you could be paying for duplicate cover. Silently, every month. Check your latest super statement. Find the insurance line. You might be surprised. There is also the investment option question. If your super has been sitting in a conservative or cash option because you never changed it from the default years ago, your returns may be 2% to 3% per year, not the 7% to 9% that a balanced or growth option has historically delivered. The difference on a $100,000 balance over 20 years is $180,000 versus $387,000. Same money, different decision. Nearly $200,000 different outcome. So here's what you do with this information. Not tomorrow, this week. Step 1. Find out where you actually stand. Log into your super fund right now. Australian Super, Australian Retirement Trust, Host Plus, whoever you're with, and check 3 things. Your balance versus the age benchmarks I just gave you, your investment option, and your insurance premiums. 10 minutes. That's all it takes. Step 2. If you're behind on super, look at salary sacrifice. Salary sacrifice into super is one of the most tax-effective moves available to everyday Australians. Every dollar you salary sacrifice reduces your taxable income and goes into super at a 15% tax rate instead of your marginal rate. On an $80,000 salary, that can mean $3,000 to $6,000 in tax savings per year. Set it up through your employer's payroll team. It's not complicated. Step 3. Build a cash buffer. Financial advisors consistently recommend 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, not income, expenses, sitting in a liquid savings account. For a single person renting in Sydney, that's roughly $10,000 to $15,000. In Brisbane or Adelaide, closer to $7,000 to $10,000. If you're not there yet, automate it. Set up an automatic transfer the day after payday to a separate high-interest savings account, UBank, ING, Macquarie, somewhere you don't see it or easily access it. Pay yourself first. Non-negotiable. Step 4. Tackle high-interest debt before you invest. If you have credit card debt at 20% interest, paying it off is the equivalent of a guaranteed 20% return. No ETF on the ASX gives you that. Use either the debt avalanche, highest interest rate first, or the debt snowball, smallest balance first for psychological momentum. Perla and CommSec Pocket are excellent platforms when you're ready to start investing, but clear the expensive debt first. Step 5. If you're renting and wondering whether you'll ever own property, look at the First Home Super Saver scheme. You can contribute up to $15,000 per year into super for a first home deposit, with a cap of $50,000 total, and withdraw it with favorable tax treatment. It's not perfect, but it's a government incentive that most first home buyers aren't using. Here's the cost of doing nothing. And I want you to feel this, not just understand it. A 25-year-old who saves $400 a month and invested at 7% average returns will have $240,000 by 45 and $600,000 by 55. That same person, if they wait until 35 to start, cuts those numbers roughly in half. 10 years of delay doesn't cost you 10 years of savings. It costs you half your wealth. Compounding doesn't care about your intentions. It only cares about when you start. Right now, more than a quarter of Australians, 26.5%, have no money left after payday. Zero, nothing, and $36 in every $100 of disposable income is going somewhere other than their future. Most people who have tracked their spending for the first time find $200 to $500 a month in spending they are willing to cut. Not sacrifice, willing to cut. The average Australian isn't broke because they earn too little. The average Australian is behind because no one gave them a clear, honest picture of where they stand. Now you have that picture. Before we go, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit subscribe now so you never miss when we break down something the average Australian isn't being told about their money. And drop your answer in the comments. When you look at these numbers honestly, the debt, the savings rate, the super balance, which one surprised you the most, and what are you going to do about it this week? I read everyone.